Gently Reese, and I'm a born-again Christian. So, what I spoke about in the last video was the build-up to everything that had happened, and now I'm going to talk to you about what happened when I did die, and when Jesus came to me when I was in ICU. Oh, it makes me feel so happy. I get so excited about it. Tell you one thing, the first thing that happened when I died, I truly, and the reason why I believe that I went to heaven and I went to hell was because when you get put to sleep, if you've ever had an operation, you'll know that you don't remember nothing, nixies, nothing at all. You don't remember a thing. You just wake up. I know because I've had operations before. But I woke up talking about this stuff and I can still picture it right now. So I know I was there. I went to hell. And when I read about hell in the Bible, it is a perfect description of where I was. It was unbelievable. It was a tunnel, like a cave of skin, and all the skin was stitched together. It was black skin, white skin, ginger, freckly skin. I was standing in it, so my feet could feel that I was standing on skin, and it was breathing. This cave was breathing, and the skin and the noise, and the skin, and there was all these people, and the people in there were just like me. They were terrified and they didn't want to be there. I could cry my eyes about how scared I was. I was thinking I'd rather be thrown into sharks. I'd rather be with Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, I'm going to cry. It's really emotional. I was thinking, and I was saying, God, why have you done this to me? Like, I know I was a bad person, but I tried to be good. I give my life to you and I tried to be so good. Why am I in hell? Why have you done this to me? And these people were coming at me. They were stuck to the skin, but they would get off and they'd come at me. And their faces were like mine. We were terrified. It was like, the fear was unbelievable. It was so bad. I'd rather be with murderers or in tanks of water with sharks than to be in this place, how bad it was. Sorry, I'm crying a bit. And in this moment of sheer hell, it's no fire. There was no fire, but we were in a fire. The heat was so strong. It was so bad. The hotness, the heat was so bad. It was unbelievable bad. And it was so scary. And I knew where I was. I knew I was in hell. Because there was nothing like it I'd ever experienced, not even in a movie. You know, you think you've seen scary movies. It's nothing, and it's eternal torment. It's everything about it. It's your feelings, your thoughts, the feel of it, the sound of it. It's so big. It's crippling how bad it is. And it's so bad that even bad people that are in there are like they're in such a state, you know. Devil worshippers, I've got to get a tissue for myself. Devil worshippers, I think they think that when they go to Satan's kingdom, that they're going to be, you know, doing all this devil worshipping practice and having a great life, but they don't realise that hell is an internal torment. There's nothing good about it. It's terrifying. It's the most scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I'm so afraid to ever go back there. You don't understand. I used to smoke vapes. When I came out of there, I vowed I was so afraid to do anything wrong again, to ever be put there ever again. You do not understand. You know, once you're in there, there is no, for those people that are stuck in hell, there's no coming out. And that's what I say. What have I got to lose if I'm wrong and there's no such thing as Jesus? What have I got to lose? But if I'm right, people that are not Christian are going to go to where I've been. The people's skin was off of them. The fronts of their skin was off of them. Their different arms. He took an arms off of them and sewed them onto other arms. They were absolutely tormented. It was unbelievably bad. I can't describe to you how bad this place was. And the temperature, I couldn't make out why it wasn't disintegrated, how hot it was. I was sweating, and the heat, but you don't die, you can't, the heat doesn't kill you. No, you're alive in that heat. You stay there in that heat. Anyway, there was a light at the end of this hell tunnel, And there was a woman there, and she kept telling me to come to the light, and I kept hearing it, come to the light, walk to the light. And when we're on earth, we always know, we hear the saying, just keep walking to the light. So that's what I did. I walked to the light. I kept going to the light. And as I was going, I just kept asking God why, because I couldn't make it out. I truly was dumbfounded that I was there. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was, on earth. I'd said, I can't wait to, one day when I die, I can't wait because I'm going to go to heaven. I'm going to be with the King of Kings. And I died and I went to hell. It absolutely breaks my heart that happened to me, but I'm so glad I didn't stay dead. And I'm so glad that God took me out of hell. It was an experience for a purpose, because he knows, like I said, I am a crank, would tell everyone. I don't care that people up and down the country go, oh, have you heard Crackpot's video? She went, well, the Dinlo. God knows me, and he knows I don't care for anybody. I will speak the truth of what happened to me for the glory, to glorify God. Everything that happened to me is my childhood, I've told people. Most people wouldn't dare speak about it again, but I told them because I wanted them to understand how powerful God is, how he brings you through. He's done that to me. He's let me see that so that I can tell others about it, how terrible it is. When I got to the woman, it was like hell, like the cave of hell went shloop and disappeared. It was like a warp, like a sinkhole. It disappeared behind me, and I was standing in this place, and let me tell you about this place. Oh, let me tell you about it. The light was so bright, you've never seen a light like it. There are no colours on earth that are like this light, because it's so, but if there was, there was this light, you'd be blinded, it'll blind you. It's that bright, but wherever it is in heaven, I don't believe I went to heaven. I believe I stood on the outskirts of it, because I didn't see any buildings, there was no gates, nothing. It was just the light, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. There was like the sound of 1,000,000 harps playing, but music that you haven't heard here. You would never hear. What I heard there, I've never heard here, but it was a music. But I've never heard anything. There's a sound I could never describe to you what it was sounding like. It was just so beautiful, and the feeling there. Like when I was in the hellfire, I was. I'm gonna cry again. Matthew tells me not to talk about the hellfire anymore because of what it done to me. But when I was in the hellfire, I remember my children, my husband, everything. I remembered it. It was to torment me to death. But as soon as I went into this light, I remembered nothing about my family, about who's persecuted me on this earth. People have made me feel sad. My mum and dad, how they treated me. I never remembered it all. It just disappeared. Me kids, me husband, it just went. As it says in the Bible, there are no sorrows in heaven. It left. All there was this feeling. A lifted, beautiful, like it was unreal. It was unreal. There's not a cake on the earth or a handbag on the earth or a love like it on the earth that could make you feel the way that this heaven does. And the woman there, she was telling me about Ali, and she was telling me how proud she was of Ali, and it wasn't like Ali, it was Ali. It was just a lovely sound, and she was telling me that she was proud of him, and her face was so beautiful. It was like an older woman, but she was in heaven, and she was so beautiful, and she was so, I believe in heaven we just get this, our sadness on our faces and our heavy looks are due to the burdens of this world. But I believe in heaven we are just like this. When I think about God, anyone that would know me will tell you, when I think about him, I talk about him, I just get this overexciting, like happiness, because of the joy that it gives me, the promise.
Mom?
Anyway, I'm just making a video a minute, Victoria. You'll have to go away.
I just need to ask you a quick question.
Yes, Victoria?
Are we allowed to let all the dogs out?
No. Okay, so just don't you love it when you get halfway through a video and the children start. But where were we? So Ali, she was telling me about Ali, and when I woke up after I did come round, first person was standing at the end of my bed. I haven't been to ICU. I've not been awake in ICU. The nurses in ICU are different to the nurses on the ward from when I first came in. So when I woke up after the 12-hour surgery, I have literally all these people in there I'd never met before. And I saw my husband Matthew first of all. And I said to him, Matt, I'm all right. He was crying. He was in a terrible state. You know, he just watched me die. And I didn't realise what had happened to me. I just thought I'd gone for the surgery and woke up and I was all right. But I was absolutely smothered in blood. And, you know, and Matthew's in the state. But then I turned to my right and I saw Ali. And I said to him, Ali. And the nurse, Livy, she said, you know Ali? And I said, no. I said, but I've been with his mum in heaven. And Ali just went to pieces. He actually fell on the floor. How embarrassing for him. He fell on the floor and started praying. I told him that his mum told him that how proud she was of him. Now, Ali, I didn't know this, but I didn't really know any of this till like 5 or 6 days later when I went up onto the ward and the guys had told me about what I was saying, because obviously you're out of your brains when you first come round. You're on fentanyl and all kind of weird stuff. And they told me that I told Ali that I was with his mum, and Lizzie said, do you know Ali? And I said, no. She said, well, you told him when you woke up that you were with his mum in heaven. And then I started to remember like I do now, and I'm like, yeah, I was. She was saying she was proud of him and that. And she was, Ali has come from, he's persecuted Christian from Palestine. And he got onto a program that brought him here to work in the ICU because he was already an ICU doctor in Lebanon. But they're being persecuted, the Palestinian people, Christian Palestinian people. So he was worked on a program. I'm going to cry again. And he'd left everything. He'd been there for 3 months. He's left everything, his family, everything, and everything he knows in there. And he came, and so that's why it was huge that I'd seen his mum in heaven, or you know, could have been his grandmum, but it was a woman of Ali. And I thought it was his mum, but it could have been his grandma. I don't know. She was quite old looking, and she told me that she was so proud of him. And then the final thing that happened with the Lord was when I was in the intensive care on day 5 or 6, they had to take the drains out of my lungs and sew me up. And she said that it's going to be uncomfortable, but I can do it, blah, blah, blah. And I started screaming. It was bad. The pain was unbelievable. And in the Bible, it talks about Jesus saying, I am in the midst of it all. And this is exactly what, there's actually another little miracle after this, but that's exactly what it meant. It's exactly what he means when he says, I'm in the midst of it all. So Jesus appeared. I'm screaming. And then I looked at Matthew. Jesus appeared in the room, yeah? I didn't see him with my eyes. I didn't see his face. I didn't see his back. I didn't see his hands. I just knew that he was there. And I felt his presence, his weight. Because when he was talking to me, he put his hands on my legs. And I looked at Matthew and I said, Jesus is here. And I looked at the nurses, and Jesus said to me, I will not let them hurt you. Nothing will hurt you. Lay down, lay with me. I'm with you. Nothing will hurt you. Be calm, be still, know that I'm God. And I told this to the nurses and I told it to Matthew. It's all right, Jesus is here now. He's God. I'm going to trust in him. I'm going to lay still. Do you know, they took drains out. They took 2 drains out of my side here and stitched me up, gave me stitches in my side, and I did not feel a thing, nothing. But when they first tried to take it out, I was screaming. This is true. This is a scene that happened in front of a man, my husband Matthew, and all the nurses. I didn't feel a thing. After I came out of intensive care, I went to the ward and I became really unwell, and I was going to wind up back in intensive care because I had collapsed lungs. My blood pressure wouldn't go up. It stayed at like 30, 32. I was ill. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I was sicking. Matthew said my eyes were sunk into the back of my head. I was just so unwell. I couldn't stand. I was so unwell. And they destroyed my leg when I was in the theatre. So I've had nerve troubles. I've had to be on Zimmer frames and wheelchairs since I've been home. But I was so unwell. And on this particular morning, it was a Sunday, and they said I had to stay till Wednesday, which would have made it 10 days instead of the Monday when I could go home on 7 days. But on Sunday, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd been sweating. And by the way, I was sweating amounts. And Matthew would be testimony for that. I was sweating, drowned in sweat. I was on fire to touch. Matthew said, she's so hot. Every time they took my temperature, normal. And all I kept saying was, it's the hellfire. I was hot because I'd been in hell. And I'd stand by that today. Because my temperature was normal. To touch me, I was on fire and I was drowned with sweat. I was on fire because I've been in hell. And people think you're a dinlo for saying it. Trust me, it was the truth. There's no other explanation for it. There's no explanation for why I died. Why my blood wouldn't clot. My blood levels were fine before I went in there. I had a test. It's all part of what happens in God's realms. What God wants is, and what we can prove on paper is two different things. You know. But this particular morning, that Sunday morning, the nurse came in and he put me in the wheelchair and he wheeled me and he turned the shower on. He put me in the shower, and I was sitting in the wheelchair. I'd given up all worry about man was washing me, and I'd sat there and he'd put his hand on my shoulder. I was just crying, and he was silent. It was such a solid moment in my life. Got me back into bed, and I looked out a window, and it was probably about 5:15, 5:45. And I said, God, I've had enough. I want to go home. I never told that to my husband before, because I wouldn't want him to think that I was ready to leave him, but I'd had enough. I couldn't fight anymore. I couldn't, my body was just failing terrible. I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat, couldn't drink. Felt like crap. But Matthew, God bless him, every day he was there force feeding me, giving me water. He willed me to live. I believe that today. He was there willing me on to live. And I looked out this window at this particular Sunday morning, and I said, I can't take it anymore. God, please just take me home. I don't want to be here anymore. I can't fight this anymore. And this is, you know, when they say about the miracle when God made the blind man see and he parted the oceans, it's so hard for us to comprehend that, because it's such a, you know, like Jesus said, if you can't believe me, like what he said to those disciples, when you're seeing it, how are people in time that are only going to hear about it believe what I do? You know, I'm laying out this window. I've told him that. I've looked out the window and I've told him that. And I've coached myself over and gone to sleep. And I've got all these tubes coming out my neck. I've got pacemaker wires on connector boxes. I've got bags of electrolytes going in everywhere. I'm wired. I've been walking. I've got wires on me. Every time I go to the toilet, I've got about 20 wires and my neck's pulling. And I was laying there. And then I've woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And usually when I wake up from these sleeps, I wake up and I think, oh my God, where's it going to hurt me? And I woke up, I went, oh my gosh, I feel so good. I can talk. Because I was talking like that. Because my lung hurt so bad. I could talk normal. I got out of the bed. And I've got out of the bed and I'm walking. I'm hobbling because of my leg. But I'm walking. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even get out of the bed before. They had wheelchairs. And I've rung the bell. I've done to the woman, the nurse. Nurse, have a dick. Look, I can walk. Oh my God, I feel great. I felt unreal. The fever, the fire was gone. The sickness and the dizziness was gone. She'd done me blood pressure. It was up to normal. God heard me and gave me a miracle like that. Bang. Just like that. A corner turned like that. That was the corner I turned like that. I was so ill, and then bang, I was well. And I was so well, they let me go home the next day. Because God gave me a miracle. They're talking about keeping me in there another few days and maybe have to go back to the intensive care because I had fluid still on this lung. And they was treating me for infection. But I didn't have an infection, but they're thinking because of the temperature that, well, why I'm on fire and I've got this fluid in me lung. I didn't have any infection markers and no temperature in me ear. They're giving me antibiotics. It just can't work out. But this is what I'm saying to you. What is happening in our bodies and what doctors know is a completely different thing to when God wants to do something. If God wants to make testimony of your life, there will be things happening to you that can't be explained, like all the things that happened to me. When he moves, anything we can say and do as doctors or nurses, it can be just so different. They can't explain things, what's happened, but God knows. He knows exactly what he done. And he knows exactly why he done it. it's been very emotional. I've cried at so much. Like, I don't think I've ever cried so much about anything other than what I've been through. You know, this whole experience has moved me so much. God sent people to me, good people. He sent love to me, like the love I had from those nurses on a daily. He sent Christians to me. You had people praying for me, and the love of Christ through others come so big and was so important. And I came out of it all just loving him so much more than I ever did before. Not because he saved my life, not at all. That's not why I love him more. I love him because of the miracle that he is, and the miracles that he does for us on the daily, and how, you know, masterful he is. You know, like all those things that happened to me, I know they was bad for me, but they were still mystery to a doctor. And that is who he is, a mystery. You know, we can never comprehend or understand who he is, but one day, by the grace of God, we will see his face. You know, I can't wait to see his face. I just can't wait to see his face. God is great. God is awesome. And that is my story. I love you all so much. And thank you to everyone who knows me and prayed for me. And I pray that you continue to pray for me and my children and my family and that. Because this old ticker, you know, it's been repaired, but who knows how long for. But whatever it is, I'll give God the glory. Because he is awesome.